Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Storytime from the Desmond-Fish Library. From my house to yours, I'm Beth and I work at the library, and I'm going to be reading you 2 stories today. And to help me, I've brought in my friend Peanuts. This is Peanuts the mouse, and he is going to stay with me while I read my stories. And this first one, he's going to sit close to me here, because the first story has cats in it, and he's a little bit scared of cats. This is called Nellie, a Cat on Her Own by Natalie Babbitt. There was a little marionette once named Nellie, who hung from a comfortable peg in the cottage of a clever old woman. And here she is. The old woman had made Nellie from wood and yarn and broom straws, and every afternoon would take her down from her peg, wind up the music box, and pull her strings to make her leap and dip and spin just like a dancer on the stage. There was a real cat living in the cottage too. The old woman called him Big Tom, but he didn't belong to her as Nellie did. He belonged only to himself. Still, he liked a warm fire and a bowl of milk, and so he stayed, and every afternoon he would watch in a puzzled way while Nellie danced. And there you can see the clever old lady and the music box and Nellie and Big Tom. Hello, people who are waving. Welcome to Storytime. One night, when the old woman was asleep, Big Tom said to Nellie, "It would be better if you danced all on your own." "I could never do that," said Nellie. "Moonshine," said Big Tom, and he sprang up to the window and went out into the dark, as he always did, to go wherever it is cats go and do whatever they do. Nellie stayed behind, as she always did. She never wondered what it was that Big Tom went, or what he did. She was much too busy thinking how lovely it would be when she could dance again. There's Big Tom going up to do whatever it is that cats do. And Nellie, she's going to stay behind on her peg. It was a safe little life for Nellie, but then one day the old woman, who was very, very old, fell sick, and after a time she died. Her friends all came and took her away to the churchyard, and Nellie and Big Tom were left alone. "Whatever shall I do?" wailed Nellie, "without my clever old woman?" "The thing to do," said Big Tom, "is to go on to the next woman." "But I belong to this old woman," said Nellie. "I don't want another." "Belong to yourself then, like me," said Big Tom. "That way, when changes come, you'll always be ready to hold your tail high and move along." And there's Big Tom talking to Nellie. "I can't hold my tail high and move along," said Nellie. "I can't dance either, not without my clever old woman, and you have no idea how lovely it is to dance." "Moonshine," said Big Tom. You mustn't stay here. You better come with me." And he began to pull off the strings that were fastened to Nellie. "Oh," cried Nellie, "don't take away my strings." "If I don't," said Big Tom, "they'll get in the way and tangle up." And he went on pulling till at last Nellie dropped to the floor with a clunk. "There," he said, "you're free." He picked her up by the leg, ignoring her squeaks and squeals, and jumped with her through the window. Then he fetched the old woman's hat and sat Nellie up inside. "Here is your cart," he said, "and I'll be your pony." And he took the hat's long ribbons in his mouth and dragged it off, Nellie and all, into the wide, wild world. Nellie had never once been out in the world before. It made her feel small, and at last she said again, "Whatever shall I do?" But Big Tom paid no attention. You can see there they are out in the wide, wild world. They had not gone far when down from a tree leaned a cat with stripes. "Well," he said, "who's this you've got here?" "It's Nellie," said Big Tom. "We're moving." "But you'll be there tonight?" asked the cat with stripes. "Oh, yes," said Big Tom. "It's right on our way." "Good," said the cat with stripes, and he settled back into the tree. There he is in his tree. As they started on, Nellie said, "I didn't know there were other cats." "Moonshine," said Big Tom. "But what did he mean about tonight?" asked Nellie. "There's a gathering," said Big Tom. "A gathering of friends." For a while, as she bumped along, Nellie thought about what a gathering might be. It sounded risky, especially without her clever old woman, and she was just wishing she were back in the cottage, hanging from her peg, when out from the weeds slipped a cat as black as chimney soot. "There you are," he said, "and who might this child be?" Here's the black cat. "It's Nellie," said Big Tom. "We're moving." "But you'll be with us later?" asked the black cat. "Yes, indeed," said Big Tom. "Good," said the black cat. "Bring Nellie," and he slipped away again into the weeds. When he was gone, Nellie said, "Another cat?" "You'll see them all tonight," said Big Tom. "And I can watch what you do?" asked Nellie. "You'll do it with us, I expect," said Big Tom. Nellie was surprised to hear this, but she began to think that, whatever happened at a gathering, it might be rather nice to be one of the friends who gathered. They came soon after to the foot of a little hill and started up just as the day was dimming to a close. "I've never been off my peg so late before," said Nellie. "You'll like it," said Big Tom. There they are, the base of the hill. When they came to the top of the hill, Big Tom said, "This is the place. We're just in time." And then the moon swam up round and full. "Oh my," said Nellie. "Yes," said Big Tom, "I knew you'd like it." Out from the shadows the cats began to gather. One of them started to sing, and then they were all singing and began to dance in the moonlight. "Oh my," said Nellie. So here's the moonlit clearing where Nellie and Big Tom have arrived for the gathering, and here are the cats who have come to dance and sing. Up rose Big Tom on his strong hind legs and bowed to Nellie. "Would you care to dance?" he asked her. Nellie felt a stirring in her wooden limbs, and she stood up tall in the old woman's hat and stepped out over the brim. "Somehow I thought you could," said Big Tom, "at a gathering." "Is it magic?" whispered Nellie, and Big Tom answered, "Moonshine mostly." Then he took her paw in his, and she leapt and dipped and spun like a dancer on a stage, and all the cats danced around her. So here's Big Tom. Here's Nellie getting up to dance. And I love the next page. It's just 2 pages of all the cats that are dancing in the moonlight in the clearing. Big cats and small cats. Maybe you see a cat that looks like one that belongs to you. Maybe that's what your cat does at night when he slips away. And there's Nellie and Big Tom right in the middle. They danced and sang till moonset, and then the others said goodbye and went away. But Nellie and Big Tom stayed behind to watch the sun come up. "Now," said Big Tom, "down the other side of this hill is a new old woman's cottage. Shall I take you with me?" "I thank you very much," said Nellie, "but I do believe this is the place for me. I want to make my home here." "Suit yourself, then," said Big Tom, but Nellie could see that he was pleased. "Will you come and visit me?" she asked. "Of course," said Big Tom. "I'll see you often." So he left her in a comfortable hollow tree with a fine view of the wide, wild world, and he moved along with his tail held high. Nellie stayed in the tree, and she thought, and though she never forgot her clever old woman, she was happy and content. And every night when the moon was full, there was a gathering of friends. Big Tom would come, and Nellie danced with him, but most of the time she danced all on her own. And that's the end of Nellie, a cat on her own. Peanuts doesn't want to do a cat dance. He's going to do a mouse dance instead. And he's excited for the next story, which is called Miss Rumphius, story and pictures by Barbara Cooney. And there is also a cat on the cover of this one. Here we go. Let's see. The Lupin Lady lives in a small house overlooking the sea. In between the rocks around her house grow blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. The Lupin Lady is little and old, but she has not always been that way. I know. She is my great aunt, and she told me so. Once upon a time, she was a little girl named Alice, who lived in a city by the sea. From the front stoop she could see the wharves and the bristling masts of tall ships. Many years ago, her grandfather had come to America on a large sailing ship. Now he worked in the shop at the bottom of the house, making figureheads for the prows of ships and carving figures out of wood to put in front of cigar stores. For Alice's grandfather was an artist. He painted pictures, too, of sailing ships and places across the sea. When he was very busy, Alice helped him put in the skies. And there's Alice, helping to paint a sky into a picture. In the evening, Alice sat on her grandfather's knee and listened to his stories of faraway places. When he had finished, Alice would say, "When I grow up, I too will go to faraway places, and when I grow old, I too will live by the sea." "That is all very well, little Alice," said her grandfather, "but there is a third thing you must do." "What is that?" asked Alice. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," said her grandfather. "All right," said Alice, but she did not know yet what that could be. In the meantime, Alice got up and washed her face and ate her porridge for breakfast. She went to school and came home and did her homework, and pretty soon she was grown up. Here she is, sitting on her grandfather's lap while she talks to him. Then my great-aunt Alice set out to do the 3 things she had told her grandfather she was going to do. She left home and went to live in another city far from the sea and the salt air. There she worked in a library, dusting books and keeping them from getting mixed up, and helping people find the ones they wanted. Some of the books told her about faraway places. People called her Miss Rumphius now. Sometimes she went into the conservatory in the middle of the park. When she stepped inside on a wintry day, the warm, moist air wrapped around herself, and the sweet smell of jasmine filled her nose. "This is almost like a tropical isle," said Miss Rumphius, "but not quite." There she is. So Miss Rumphius went to a real tropical island, where people kept cockatoos and monkeys as pets. She walked on long beaches, picking up beautiful shells. One day she met the Bopper Raja, king of a fishing village. "You must be tired," he said. "Come into my house and rest." So Miss Rumphius went in and met the Bapa Raja's wife. The Bapa Raja himself fetched a green coconut and cut a slice off the top so that Miss Rumphius could drink the coconut water inside. Before she left, the Bapa Raja gave her a beautiful mother-of-pearl shell on which he had painted a bird of paradise and the words, "You will always remain in my heart." "You will always remain in mine too," said Miss Rumphius. And there she is on the island, meeting everyone. My great-aunt, Miss Alice Rumphius, climbed tall mountains where the snow never melted. She went through jungles and across deserts. She saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping, and everywhere she made friends she would never forget. Finally, she came to the land of the lotus eaters, and there, getting off a camel, she hurt her back. "What a foolish thing to do," said Miss Rumphius. "Well, I have certainly seen faraway places. Maybe it is time to find my place for the sea." And it was. And she did. From the porch of her new house, Miss Rumphius watched the sun come up. She watched it cross the heavens and sparkle on the water, and she saw it set in glory in the evening. She started a little garden among the rocks that surrounded her house, and she planted a few flower seeds in the stony ground. Miss Rumphius was almost perfectly happy. "But there is still one more thing I have to do," she said. "I have to do something to make the world more beautiful." "But what? The world is already pretty nice," she thought, looking out over the ocean. And here's the house she found by the sea. The next spring, Miss Rumphius was not very well. Her back was bothering her again, and she had to stay in bed most of the time. The flowers she had planted the summer before had come up and bloomed in spite of the stony ground. She could see them from her bedroom window, blue and purple and rose-colored. "Lupins," said Miss Rumphius with satisfaction. "I have always loved lupins best. I wish I could plant more seeds this summer so that I could have still more flowers next year." She was not able to. She had to stay in bed. After a hard winter, spring came. Miss Rumphius was feeling much better. Now she could take walks again. One afternoon she started to go up and over the hill where she had not been in a long time. "I don't believe my eyes," she cried when she got to the top. For there on the other side of the hill was a large patch of blue and purple and rose-colored lupins. "It was the wind," she said, as she knelt in delight. "It was the wind that brought the seeds from my garden here, and the birds must have helped." Then Miss Rumphius had a wonderful idea. And here she is, finding them. You can see her house back there, and her kitty cat down here. She hurried home and got out her seed catalogues. She sent off to the very best seed house for 5 bushels of lupin seed. All that summer, Miss Rumphius, her pockets full of seeds, wandered over fields and headlands, sowing lupins. She scattered seeds along the highways and down the country lanes. She flung handfuls of them around the schoolhouse and back of the church. She tossed them into hollows and along stone walls. Her back didn't hurt her at all anymore. Now some people called her that crazy old lady. And here she is. The next spring there were lupins everywhere. Fields and hillsides were covered in blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. They bloomed along the highways and down the lanes. Bright patches lay around the schoolhouse and back of the church. Down in the hollows along the stone walls grew the beautiful flowers. Miss Rumphius had done the third, the most difficult thing of all. My great aunt, Alice Miss Rumphius, is very old now. Her hair is very white. Every year there are more and more lupins. Now they call her the Lupin Lady. Sometimes my friends stand with me outside her gate, curious to see the old lady who planted the fields of lupins. When she invites us in, they come slowly. They think she is the oldest woman in the world. Often she tells us stories of faraway places. When I grow up, I tell her, I too will go to faraway places and come home to live by the sea. That is all very well, little Alice, says my aunt, but there is a third thing you must do. What is that, I ask? You must do something to make the world more beautiful. All right, I say. And here she is in her house. And there's Miss Rumphius, the old lady now. But I do not yet know what that can be. The end. And there we go. And that was Storytime Live for today. We will be back on Monday at 1:30 again, and we hope you tune in and join us then.